Money, one of those things that everybody in America generally wants more of. With that said, I have hidden 10 $1 bills within the classroom, one of which is underneath a desk. And so it's underneath someone's desk. And so if you pay close attention, you will find the other 9. The Federal Reserve is something of unique in that something unique where it's so big, but it's yet such a mystery, and not a lot of people know about it. In fact, David Greens, a professor at Brooklyn Law School, said, to most of us, the Federal Reserve is a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside of an enigma. Take that from Winston Churchill. And to have a general understanding who the Federal Reserve is and what they do, who founded it, you must first look at those key items. So moving into my first point, who is the Federal Reserve and what do they do? Firstly, I want to look at who the Federal Reserve say they are. On federalreserve.gov, in their disclaimer, they say that although set up like a private corporation and a member bank that owns and a member bank with stock, they owe their existence to an act of Congress and have a mandate to serve the public. Therefore, they're not really a private corporation or company, but they are really owned by the American citizens. I don't know about any of you, but I don't think I have jurisdiction to go to a federal bank and say, hey, I'm here to make a withdrawal. I technically own you, I'm an American citizen. And so I have this little clip that shows who exactly has that jurisdiction. Where's the volume? Oh, my apologies.
We, no American citizen, no duly elected member of our Congress, not the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court, not the Justice Department, not the CIA, DIA, FBI, ATF, ATEN, not even G-O-D. How come the government isn't allowed inside its own building? Government. The Fed is a private bank owned by private stockholders. Do not let the name Federal fool you. This place is about as federal as Federal Express. A private bank? Private? Shh.
Like I said, it's a private organization, and that the only difference between them and an actual bank is that they have the legality to print the United States currency. In fact, they are the only people who are allowed to print the United States currency. I spoke with a bank owner at Chase Bank. He was one of the biggest Southern California bank owners, and he actually couldn't give me his name because of the pressing information I was asking. And he did confirm that the Federal Reserve makes most of their capital, or i.e. money, based off of loans. And so what they do is the Federal Reserve loans the bank at interest money, and then the banks turn around and loan people money, and that's how banks make money. And it's a little different in the way that Federal Reserve gives money to the United States government. Because the government asks for such a high demanded capital, or i.e. money, that they ask to see a tenth of it. So that if the government wants to borrow $100 billion, all they have to say is, hey, we got $10 billion, we're good for the other 90. And so the Federal Reserve lends the government at interest, mind you, and the government disperses those funds however they wish, i.e. government programs, welfare, schools, however you can think the government spends money, that's where that money goes. And that's where the government gets primarily all their money. And then they send the bill to us, the taxpayers, and so we pay that bill. And so that moves into the second point of who actually founded this organization called the Federal Reserve. In fact, Glenn Beck, in 2011, he had a series based off the Federal Reserve, and he explains who actually were involved. They had the 10 most wealthiest people in the world come together and organize this thing called the Federal Reserve. And just to give you the kind of caliber of their wealth, just 4 of them, J.P. Morgan, Chase Bank, Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, and Wahlberg, just those 4 people alone owned a quarter of the entire world's currency or money. A fourth of the entire world. That's crazy. And that's not even including the other 6 wealthiest people in the world. And so They do not meet at a government facility. They do not meet in Congress, D.C., or any government affiliated place. In fact, Edward Griffin, an author of The Creature from Jekyll Island, looking a closer look at the Federal Reserve, he says that they actually met up at a place in Georgia called Jekyll Island. And when they came together, they started talking about mission statements, and so they ended up with these 5 mission statements. The first, to stop the growing of competitive banks, the newer banks. Secondly, to obtain the franchise to print money out of nothing with the purpose of lending, because they don't have enough. And third, to get control of the entire bank's reserve, so as soon as they put those banks out of business, they're going to tap into their reserve so they can control the cash flow. And fourth, my personal favorite, is to shift the losses from the bank onto the taxpayer. And so why should they take the responsibility of their bad decision, bad deals, or whatever they did to lose money? They actually shifted onto us, who pay taxes. And fifth, to convince Congress that they are a necessity for the American public. A lot of people say, well, if these were their goals, how did they actually get put into our government system? And that's a great question. In fact, they put in a political figure, and they were banking on one person in 1913, and on the date of December 23rd, Woodrow Wilson signed not only the Federal Reserve, but they also signed on the IRS. The IRS has not been around for the entire American existence. The IRS came with the Federal Reserve. So when you pay your taxes to the IRS, it temporarily gets put into the U.S. Treasury, but it gets taken right out by the Federal Reserve. So your taxes do not go to your government. They go to the Federal Reserve. And to conclude, I just want to say that I have the fullest confidence in every single person to give a general understanding of who the Federal Reserve is and regarding what they do and who they are, who founded it, and how it got put into our government system. Do I have any other questions? No questions?
Were you lying about the $7?
No. I was lying about 9 of it. And like how the government only has to show 1/10, I was saying there's $1 underneath the table. That's my representation. The other 9 is a myth.
Sounds really
You
good.
found it, Eric?
Actually, I didn't. It's on
It's taped to a nail gun.
Well, there's a cable right there. I can see that.